I'm really high on Asar as a prospect. A lot of these young guys that I'm really high on because they are just kind of scratching the surface. And I know this fan base is very impatient because they see winning and they kind of want to accelerate everything. But
Yep.
I would just say I get like we can have recency bias, we can be a little bit reactionary at times, but it's okay just to kind of take a step back and kind of look at the whole 30,000 foot view of this team and where they're possibly heading because they're back on the right track, in my opinion. Last year
Yeah.
they fell off the track for 2.5 years. They're back
Yeah.
on the right track. They have a franchise guy locked up for the next 5 years. You have your young core intact. Um, these guys aren't going to come out and give you like an A+ performance every night. I think as fans, we have to understand that. Guys like Cade Cunningham have A+ performances more often than not, but he's a special player.
Yep.
The other players on this team, obviously, they're complementary players. We're trying to see who can be that number two, number three option, but I
Yep.
think we just kind of have to pump the brakes on some of these young guys because like none of these guys are over the age of 26 yet. Like I think sometimes fans forget that.
Yeah, the fact that Cade's doing what he's doing at his age, is what makes it so impressive, but he still has a lot of area to grow. And I think the thing that fans might not want to hear, but it's just the truth, is they could literally have nothing else happen the rest of the season. The fact that they got to 40 wins is a massive accomplishment. When you get to almost double digits more wins than your last two seasons combined, that's a successful season. And I think the thing that would really put the bow on it, and I think would not only get the city to recognize, but the rest of the NBA fan base to recognize is if they could finally break that playoff drought of not, of not
Hmm.
winning a playoff game. I mean, it's been since like the first year of the Obama administration since this team's won a playoff game. Just to put in perspective, that is a long time, folks. So, if they can just win a playoff game, that is a massive success. And I don't think how I don't know how you could look at this season any differently. And I get fans, like you said, they want to, pour gas on the fire. They want to, like accelerate this, like really try and jump on and just like really take, like those next steps. But like I think the thing that's going to be interesting with Detroit is the thing that is still a looming issue for this team, especially if they're trying to make a trade, is they don't have a lot of assets to trade. They don't have a lot in their tool chest as far as first round picks. Like they would have to trade multiple young assets and whatever players and like whatever picks they have if they were to actually go get someone. Like I know Devin Booker is someone that everyone wants to see in a Pistons uniform. And of course, we would love to see Devin Booker in a Pistons uniform, but you'd have to give up quite a lot to make that happen. And are you even going to be in the position that you want to be in by the time that trade's done? Well, you have given up too much. So I think that's just something that for fans to consider of, for like Trojans come in and preach patience. And although this team is massively overachieved, if you go in and for a lack of better terms, blow your load way too quickly, you can essentially close whatever window you have before it's even open.
Yeah, I talked about that because I think the last time we had you on was like right after the trading deadline, and
Yep.
I think both of us probably talked about Brandon Ingram at nauseum because that was a player that the fan base really wanted to get,
Has
and they
he even
didn't get him.
played in a Raptors uniform yet, by the way?
I'm not sure. I'm not really that locked in at TSN. I'm just not.
Yeah, nope, that's fair. Anyway, sorry. I'm gonna look that up while we're talking. But anyway, keep going.
I think like where they're at right now, you have a lot of young guys, and your young guys are your assets. Do you have future first? If this pick conveys this year, which it's probably going to convey, I could say for a fact it will convey it'll be Minnesota's pick. You can trade future first, but they're a couple years out,
Mm-hmm.
which I think it'll be very intriguing to see what direction this front office takes. And I think if I'm a Piston fan, I'd be paying attention not so much to the Pistons during the playoffs, but every team in the playoffs
Yep.
because those are the type of players that are high risers that impact winning regular season and postseason. I I think Trajan has to be very careful, very calculative, which I think he is. And if let's just say this player underperforms, let's say Tobias underperforms in the playoffs, do they look to upgrade that power forward position? I think those are the storylines that we should be paying attention to in the playoffs. Obviously, that's just an example. I'm not saying Tobias Harris is going to struggle in the playoffs, but those are the type of things that I'll be looking at when I'm watching the playoffs,
Yeah.
Eastern Conference and Western Conference, just to kind of see who's playing well, who's maybe underperforming. Maybe you can get them on a cheaper deal. Maybe they have a couple years on your contract and you want to kind of take that risk. Those are the type of things I think this front office is going to be looking at and really being locked in instead of being locked into the NBA draft because they have 1 round pick. I think this front office is really going to be paying attention to every playoff team and seeing who's a good performer and who's not.
Yeah. And, as we talked about as well, those looming conversations, what you're going to do with the contracts that you have in house that are going to be expiring. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr., I think at the beginning of the season, we all saw as a foregone conclusion that he'll just expire and then he'll go along his way. But do you want to bring him back to Detroit with the level of production he's brought? Malik Beasley, that keeping him is going to be a priority. Jaden Ivey, like Jalen Duren, those contract conversations are coming up. So like if there's anything that we know about what this stretch is going to be, it's going to be primo evaluation time, to your point, like not just of everyone else in the league, but like of what these players are really made of once that microscope really gets zoned in. Once those lights really get bright, it's a whole different ballgame, man.
Yeah, I can't wait for playoff basketball. I don't think I've been this excited probably since the 2018-19 season. Even though I know that we weren't going to win a game, I was just happy that the Pistons were back in the postseason.